Open up the champagne, pop. It's my house, come on, turn it up. Hear a knock on the door.
Hey folks, welcome back. Tonight we are going to talk about something that I feel like deja vu we've already talked about because, well, we have. I did a podcast earlier that for whatever reason, AT&T just decided to exhibit horrible 4G service, and the whole entire podcast was lost. So, yeah, I feel like I've had deja vu just here, and I apologize if I'm not as animated during this broadcast as I usually am. I hope nobody notices anything of the kind. I'm going to plan on giving you the absolute best lesson in human psychology that I possibly can. And you know what? I apologize earlier if you were trying to listen in. Sometimes technology just does not cooperate. Not going to lie, there's probably going to be a review of AT&T forthcoming. Not that anybody will be surprised by the conclusions I will likely draw, but you know, there definitely needs to be quite a lot more competition in this market, because I feel like when big companies corner the market on a necessary service, well, really on any service, the consumer suffers. So that's the end of my rant on that, and let's get into the topic of the night. Now, I hope nobody just heard me having an allergy attack just there. I am using a new headset, and I'm really hoping that everything goes well and goes as planned and as usual. So what we're going to be discussing tonight is the topic of ingratiating behavior versus genuine goodness, genuine kindness. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that I think the major problem in all relationships that are struggling, in all relationships that are failing, is unmet expectations. Okay? So let's talk for a moment about why these expectations are not being met. Well, there's a simple explanation for it. A Cupid doll to the person who says it first. Why is it that some expectations are not met? Drum roll, please. Because they're not expressed, right? Because we fail utterly to express them. We assume that our partner, our boss, our coworkers, our family members, our friends should know what we need intuitively, and that frankly we don't have to communicate with them. And that is lazy relationshiping. That is lazy adulting, folks. It's not the way things work. So let's talk about how these, first and foremost, how these ingratiating behaviors start forming and how these poor habits begin forming, and why that becomes a problem that kind of persists not just necessarily in that one relationship, but in that person's life. So let's say that somebody is working really, really hard at their job. They are doing really hard work. They're going to lots of extra trouble to connect with their coworkers. They're going through lots of extra trouble to impress their boss. They're going through lots of extra trouble to take more work onto their plate and be that person everybody trusts. Well, all right, what is that going to lead to? If you're not expressing the expectation that you want a raise or that you want a promotion or what have you, that's going to lead to bitterness. Say it with me, folks. Bitterness, bitterness, bitterness. That's what it's going to lead to. It's going to lead to bitterness and anger and feelings of like suffocation and that you're not being heard and you're not being appreciated. And pretty soon, that person is going to get comfortable in that spot of not being appreciated. And they're going to want everybody around them to know how underappreciated they are because, damn it, they're doing so much work and they're just not appreciated. Well, if you're doing the work for appreciation, you're doing it for the wrong reason. If you haven't expressed interest in getting a raise, getting the promotion, etc., whatever the case may be, then it is you who are at fault for your current situation and not your boss and not your coworkers and not anybody else. Because guess who's holding on to expectations? You're right, it's you. You are holding on to expectations. You are holding on to expectations that no one can meet. You are holding on to expectations that you know. I'm sorry. I'm going to call anybody who behaves this way out on this right here and right now. I'm sorry. You know that these expectations are not going to be met. And you're waiting for that moment to tell your boss, to tell your coworkers, see, I've been so great and I just got crapped on again. Well, okay, if that's what, makes your day, if that's what makes you happy, if that's what floats your boat, who am I to tell you don't act that way? If that is truly just making you happy, then congratulations. You shouldn't be unhappy and you should be very proud of yourself. If, however, you're like 99% of people in the world and that's not making you happy, you might want to consider communicating your needs in a respectful way. You might want to consider allowing another human being with agency and with individuality and with the ability to make a yes or no decision about you to go ahead and do that. Because, folks, what is life if it's not putting yourself out there? If it's not putting yourself out there, giving 100%, communicating your needs, communicating your wants, communicating where you're at, and then going ahead and letting people know what your expectations are, right? And then giving that person the option to either say, yeah, go ahead, we're going to do this, or no, sorry, this isn't going to work out. Now, it's also important to look at your internal narrative and your internal dialogue. What stories are you telling yourself about yourself? What stories are you telling yourself about why things happen a certain way in your life? Is it, sad Sally, poor me, I always get crapped on, nobody likes me, everybody disrespects me, and I'm just going to try and draw as much attention to that as possible so people can feel sorry for me? Or is it going to be Debbie Downer? Well, maybe this one good thing happened, but usually bad things happen. Or is it going to be delusionally optimistic? Well, maybe one day the boss will notice that I'm taking on all this extra work. Or is it going to be sane, rational, and balanced? If knowing and saying to yourself in your own mind, hey, I'm really qualified for this promotion, or I'm really not qualified for this promotion. You've got to be able to have the capacity to be honest with yourself. I'm really qualified, or I'm really not qualified with this promotion, and here are the choices I'm going to make because of that. Here's what I'm going to do since that's the case. I'm going to go ahead and make the following choices that are best for me, given the information that I have about my qualifications, about what the boss is looking for, right? So I think if you're affecting that sort of an attitude, it's going to be really hard for you to come up with excuses. It's going to be really hard for you to play that victim. And now I'm certainly not saying that people don't experience pain in life and that shouldn't be acknowledged. What I'm saying is, I'm asking you if you're creating a victim narrative for yourself. Are you creating a character arc for yourself that includes always being crapped on, always being the victim, always being the underdog, always being treated poorly? If you are, you're ignoring the good things that happen to you. And you're very likely not communicating your expectations. And if you are, your expectations are probably a bit out of line with reality, okay? If you're communicating expectations and you're still feeling this way, it's very possible that the expectations you're communicating are just a little out of sync with reality. And I don't mean with your reality. I don't mean with your boss's reality. I mean with shared reality, what everybody knows to be true. Not your experience versus your boss's experience, but simple reality. What all of you can agree is true. Okay, so let's look at another possible situation. Let's say that I'm sorry folks, but if you look at the data, this just, in personal romantic relationships, it is overwhelmingly heterosexual men that come at women who are also heterosexual with expectations that are either out of sync with reality or that aren't being communicated, or both, and who then start complaining about being in the friend zone. I'm not saying women don't do this too. I'm not saying that gay people and transgender people and people who are gender fluid and people who are bisexual don't do this, but overwhelmingly, and certainly my business has shown this to be true to me, because the men who have come in needing help with communication are overwhelmingly experiencing this problem. And I'm certainly not trying to put anyone down, not judging anybody. I'm not your judge, folks. You are your judge. You are your ultimate judge, okay? I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to talk facts and reality and to talk about, how things work in the real world. I'm not here to coddle people. I'm not here to beat anybody down. But I'm sorry. I know it's hard to admit. I know it's hard to hear something like this and then feel any other way besides that you're being called out or you're being called a bad person. You're not. This isn't about you. This is about human behavior. And it's a simple fix. If you're affecting this behavior, you can choose to change that, okay? So let's, for lack of a better term, nut up. Let's not go off saying how horrible of a person I am because I brought it up. It's easy to kill the messenger. It's a lot harder to work on the problems that exist within you, right? So let's, again, not to be crude, but let's nut up, let's get it together, and let's focus on what we can change and let go of what we can't change. Okay? So here's what we can't change. We can't change other people's expectations. We can't. We can't change other people's desires. No, we just can't. We can't change whether somebody's going to say yes or no to us when we come to them with a proposition. We can't do that. If it's based on feelings and feelings alone, we can't do that. Feelings, like as such, as they exist within us, like attraction, not attracted, love, no love, these things can't be altered. These things are innate. And we certainly can't change who we're attracted to or who we aren't attracted to, for that matter. So getting back to the portion of this topic that I'm sure people are going to be up in arms about, and feel free if that's what you need to do. If you feel that being up in arms rather than changing your behaviors is the best way to change or to spend your time, more power to you. I hope that works. Best of luck. Hasn't worked for any of my clients, but maybe you'll be the one person that proves me wrong. Okay, so unfortunately, oftentimes there is this sort of unmet expectation dilemma when it comes to men who are heterosexual who are also pursuing women who are heterosexual. Now, oftentimes, for whatever reason, a man will decide, and again, guys, I'm not saying this is exclusive to you. I am saying that this happens more often with straight men and straight women than it does with anybody else, and it's usually men geared toward women who are kind of the perpetrators of this maladjusted worldview. And you can change it. That's the good news. So oftentimes they'll come to a woman they're interested in, and for whatever reason, they'll decide that, pure looks just ain't going to get the job done. They're just not attractive enough to have such a superficial creature as a woman who they've arbitrarily decided is superficial because she's not attracted to them. That looks just aren't going to get the job done because women are superficial, yada, 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 but they're just going to win the woman over because they're a quote-unquote nice guy. They're one of the good ones. And I'm going to tell you right now, I do stand up for men's rights. I absolutely do. And I got to say, that narrative is really offensive to men. If you were sitting there saying that pretty much every other man but you is a complete jerk, then I'm so sorry. We need to look at a few things. That's very disrespectful to men. Very disrespectful to men. And it's disrespectful to women too. You're saying that women don't have agency, that women can't make their own decisions, and that women are just dumb people who go after only jerks, and that if they don't like you or aren't interested in you, it's because they're dumb people who go after jerks. That's not because they're married. It's not because they're dating someone. It's not because they're just not interested. It's because they're, across the board, dumb people who go after jerks. Really? I think that's very disrespectful to both men and women. It really is. You're disrespecting men actively when you hold that kind of a mentality. And when you say stuff like, well, I'm the only one. Well, I'm one of the good guys. Very narcissistic, my friends. Very narcissistic. That is a childish worldview. I would like for you to please examine that. If that is a view that you hold to be true, please examine that. That's not respectful. It's not based in truth or reality. It's not appropriate. And it's not nice. So if you're claiming to be a nice guy or a good guy, maybe you don't say things like that. Maybe you don't even think things like that about other men, right? Or about women, but about other men in particular. That's kind of an odd narrative, seeing as, you're calling women superficial because they're all interested in jerks, and that's why they're not interested in you, but yet all men are jerks, and you're the only nice guy. I mean, that's a really selfish, silly, narcissistic narrative to adopt. And if that's what you need to do to protect your own self-esteem, then perhaps you're a narcissist. And if that's the case, I wouldn't look forward to any productive relationships. And, you can sit around congratulating each other in your Reddit forums and having a circle jerk with your, friends, I don't know, who aren't dating just like you, who aren't engaging with people in a meaningful way, who have also become reclusive narcissists like you. But if that's your version of a productive life, then I feel really sorry for you. So here's my, where I'm coming from, not my situation, but where I'm coming from. And I do work with a lot of men who've struggled with this, and I absolutely do have compassion and empathy for them. But there's got to come a point when you've got to drop this sort of childish mentality, and you've got to grow up. It's as simple as that. So, unfortunately, in my, not at work or anything like that, but in my dating life and in my personal life, I experience folks like this all the time. And here's how the interaction normally goes. Some guy will message me out of the blue or come at me in public. I've never met him before. I don't know them. They'll start getting kind of personal with me, asking personal questions. They will usually dump like a whole really, really long, intricate life story on me that I absolutely did not ask for. Maybe I'm walking to a meeting. Maybe I'm on the phone. Maybe I'm just busy and a message pops up. And they take it upon themselves to kind of hit me with this long narrative that you can tell that they've been over and over in their minds to convince themselves that this is true. And usually the narrative, okay, I'm lying. Not usually, always. The narrative always includes some sort of a victimhood story. Some sort of a story of woe is me and everybody looks down on me. None of the women I like date me and I'm single right now. And guess why? Guess why? It's because I'm a good guy. I'm a nice guy. I'm thinking, yeah, that's not why you're single. You can convince yourself of that if that makes you somehow feel better, or if that protects your, fragile mind from like shattering into a million pieces. Okay, if you need to tell yourself that, you go ahead. However, that's not why you're single. You want to believe it is, that's fine, but it's not why you're single. You're single because you walk up to random women on the street who have not initiated a conversation with you, who you're not reading their body language, you're not listening to their words when they are, looking down at their phone, taking a call, saying, please excuse me, I have to be on my way to work. You're not taking the hint and you're not taking the direct information. I'm sorry, I can't talk with you right now. And rather than reading those subtle and not so subtle cues that the woman is otherwise occupied and unavailable to you at this time, you're choosing to engage in some sort of narcissistic internal narrative wherein the woman is a bitch and a horrible person, and that's why they're not talking to you, and damn it, they owe you their time on the way to work, and they owe you to answer your message right away, and they're a bitch and a cunt and a whore if you don't. And guys, I'm not over-exaggerating. These are things I hear on a regular basis when I'm very polite with people, and I say, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm just not able to talk with you right now. I've got to attend to other things at this time. Thank you for reaching out. I'm not available right now. And, best of luck to you. I wish you the very best. So these are the responses I get from that pretty respectful no thank you. Bitch, cunt, whore. Always. Always. That's the response that I get. And I realize that this has nothing to do with me, because I do have a healthy sense of self-esteem. I realize that these responses are very out of step with what I've said and what I've contributed to the interaction. And so I can only assume that there are unmet expectations on the other person's side. Logic would lead you to the explanation that that person who approached you while you were on your way to that meeting felt entitled to your time. And that's why they felt very upset when you said, I'm really sorry, but I just can't talk. That's why they got angry with you. When you said, I'm really sorry, I can't talk in person, or I can't do Messenger right now with you. I've really got to answer work messages right now. I'm sorry. When this person approaches you out of the blue, that you never signed up to talk to, that you don't know, in the middle of your workday or what have you, I can only assume that you had an expectation that you were entitled to my time, or that you were entitled to my quote-unquote niceness. Women are trained in life and expected by many to behave in a nice way. We're supposed to laugh off disrespectful, inappropriate, or ill-timed remarks. We are supposed to act demurely and shyly and, just say, I'm sorry, let's talk later. Well, you know what? I am sorry, but I am unavailable now or later. And, please stop assuming that my time is yours. This is not an expectation that is held for men, and I'm not going to get into why I think that is or what have you. That's a whole nother conversation. It really doesn't matter at this point, for our purposes right now at least, why that is. Okay? It just matters that that is the case. So oftentimes these guys who fail consistently to pick up on outright words of no thanks, of denial, outright social cues and subtle social cues that indicate that the woman is not interested, often adopt this narrative that it's because the women are bitches, cunts, and whores. Look, if you can use the word, I can use the word, so let's not go there. But they do. They adopt the narrative that women are bitches, cunts, and whores, and that's why they won't talk to them. Women are stuck up. They're superficial. If I was good looking and I approached you on the way to a meeting, you talk to me. Au contraire, mon frère. I would not. I would be just as irritated if you walked up to me on my way into a work meeting, if you were, I don't know, Ryan Gosling, as I would if you were, Pruitt Taylor Vince or something. I don't care. I don't care what you look like. If you're freaking Harvey Weinstein, I don't care. If you are, Ryan Reynolds, I don't care. I'm on my way to a meeting. It's not about looks. It's about you being inappropriate and placing inappropriate expectations upon me or upon whatever woman you're choosing to approach at any given time. It's a very simple explanation. And when you choose to adopt this as part of your worldview of poor, downtrodden, nice guy, you are overlooking the obvious reason why women are turning you down. If you want to do the pickup artist thing, okay, feel free. You might have some success initially, but it will taper off. And you're certainly not going to be able to form a stable relationship with that sort of thing unless you're dealing with a codependent person who has severe mental issues. If you are looking for any sort of a healthy relationship with a woman, I would suggest observing the woman. For instance, if she's on her phone walking down, Michigan Avenue in Chicago, approaching her probably isn't the best idea. If she's got her headphones and her sunglasses on and her hoodie up, again, probably don't approach her. That's a sign that she doesn't want to talk. If she meets your questions or your greetings or your responses with short non-committal phrases, laughs them off, doesn't make eye contact, what have you, she's not interested. Move along. You're not entitled to her time. There are other people out there. Go put yourself out there and meet some of them, right? So essentially, be aware of what this person is projecting. I'm aware of what people are projecting. If somebody seems like they need to end the interaction with me, I absolutely give them every opportunity to do that they need. And I don't take it personally because it's not about me, it's about them. And it's about what they need to do with their time and, where they need to spend their time and energy. It ain't about Dominique. This isn't the Dominique show. This isn't the Joe or John or Fred show. It's the world. We have to exist with other people. And we have to be able to respect other people's boundaries. And I'm sorry, but I feel like when we ignore these subtle signals and these more obvious cues, I believe we're doing so on purpose. I really do. I think when we ignore things like this, we're doing it on purpose in the hopes that this person will be demure or kind or what have you in order to go ahead and pressure that person into them giving us their time. And maybe we do something seemingly nice to them, or we give them a compliment or something to kind of guilt them into spending more time with us. But that's ingratiating behavior. A genuine compliment, and folks, lest you say, oh, any compliment a man gives is going to be thought of as sexist. No. I've had many kind compliments from men. That's a really nice shirt. That color looks good on you. Gosh, I like those new shoes. Wow, that new makeup looks really nice on you. Your hair's different today. I really like it in a braid, These are compliments, A, that the woman is going to remember, B, that the woman is going to remember because they were respectful, and C, that don't objectify her or discuss her looks at all. Because I'm sorry, but when you say, oh, you're so hot, or oh, you're so pretty, or you're so beautiful, or you're so ugly, or whatever, when you say things like that, when you make comments about people's body or what have you, or how much you'd like to have sex with them, it is off-putting. Many of us are trained to say thank you. I no longer do that myself because I don't want to thank somebody for being the judge and jury when it comes to my body or my right to exist, whether or not they want to have sex with me. Not appropriate. Unless you are having sex or about to have sex, those comments are not appropriate. Okay. Unless you're in an intimate situation with somebody, those comments are just not okay. And please try to keep the judgmental comments down a bit, like when it comes to evaluating somebody's body or evaluating someone in any way. Try to stay away from that. Try to stray away from that kind of thing. So basically, I know it's a tough concept because we really have been trained to do otherwise, but treat women and people in general with respect. Don't comment on their bodies. Don't comment on whether or not you would like to sleep with them. Okay? Don't give them the eye fuck. Don't do that. That's not respectful. It's not appropriate, and it's not a way to get somebody into bed. It's not a way to get somebody into a relationship. And I'm not just talking about behaviors that are outright like that. When I talk about disingenuous behavior, and again, I'm not just talking about men. This is just one example that I'm using. The romantic thing that does seem to be very prevalent between heterosexual men and heterosexual women. That's sort of a man-on-woman thing. Oftentimes these guys who approach a woman will not make their expectations known and will assume that they're going to get sex or time with that person so that they can convince them that they should be the one that they go out with or that they have sex with because they do something seemingly nice for that person. That's not a genuine way to behave. That's actually what we call ingratiating ourselves with people. That's what we call transactional relationships. And again, transactional relationships border on cluster B behavior. So if you continue to go down that path, you may well end up a cluster B individual, or you may already be one. And that is a real problem. I hope that if any of this rings true, that you are not that person, that you haven't abandoned empathy and compassion, and that you haven't abandoned being able to see things from other people's perspective. So these behaviors that are so, quote unquote nice are not really nice. They're not kind. They're manipulative, they're devious, they're underhanded. So let's say I want to make my friend dinner because I love my friend and I want to make them dinner. There you go, I make them dinner, we enjoy ourselves, and we go home. But let's say that a man who wants a woman to sleep with him makes her dinner. He might make her dinner and she says, gosh, I'm sorry, but you didn't ask me if I had plans for dinner, and I do. I'm not going to be able to make it over. And then the situation devolves into him calling her a bitch, a cunt, or a whore. Well, can you see where you went wrong there? You didn't ask this person if they had plans. You didn't let this person know that this was a romantic dinner, and you didn't even bother to ask if they wanted to spend time with you at all. Probably not the best way to go about this, and very manipulative. I don't for 1 second believe that you failed to ask this person because you just forgot. No. You did this to be manipulative. At least be real about it with yourself. You did it to be manipulative. You did it to con or to manipulate this person into not being able to say no because what? We are trained to be nice as women, right? So you're playing on a cultural stereotype that you know exists, and then you're blaming the same cultural stereotype that you just played on when the woman says no or indicates that they're not interested. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. And again, saying, well, I'm one of the nice guys, you're missing out if you don't want to be with me, I make a stable income, or I would take care of you. No, you would take care of me when it suits you, and then you would expect something in return. That's not the same thing. That's a transactional relationship, and that's not healthy. So that's a load of malarkey. That's BS. And frankly, if you do nice things, you're either doing it for outside approval, see how nice I am to my girlfriend, or you're doing it for the girlfriend's approval. See how nice I am to you? You can't leave me now. Or see how nice I've been as a friend? Now you have to date me. That's very manipulative. If this person can't be trusted to make up their mind on their own, why would you want to be in a relationship with them, first and foremost? And secondly, if you can't even allow this person the agency to either say a simple yes or a no, no thanks, to the option of being with you, then why would you want to be in a relationship with that person? You don't even give that person enough respect to say yes or no to going out with you or having sex with you. So why would you possibly think that you're mature enough for a relationship? And honestly, men, it's tiring to keep something like that up. Would you really want to keep something like that up for 20, 40, 60 years of your life? No, of course not. You want someone you can be yourself with, really. So it doesn't benefit you to act that way. I know it's hard to think of somebody saying no to you, and it's good to use tactics, not saying like pickup artist stuff, but it's good to use tactics like, being able to read body language, mirroring people, but don't use it to be manipulative and ingratiating. Use it because you want to be able to connect and communicate with that person. Use it so that you know the appropriate time to make your wishes known and to make your expectations known, right? And communicate that in an appropriate way, and then you will have a better chance of hearing yeah or maybe or why not, right? So it comes down to being ingratiating and manipulative, or being reasonable and good and respectful. And if you're truly reasonable and good and respectful, and you're able to respect yourself, you are also able to respect other people. And if you are that kind of a respectful human being, it is very easy to pick up positive strategies for communication and interaction. That's where I come in, and that's where people like me come in with coaching and consulting and counseling. It's very important, but you've got to be able to come from a place of being genuine and being reasonable and being good. You can't come from a place of being ingratiating or manipulative. We're all afraid of hearing the word no. All of us. But we have to allow people to say it. We have to allow people to say it. And it's wasting an awful lot of energy to dart around the possibility of no, like you're Mike Tyson in the boxing ring, like you're Muhammad Ali and you're darting around. No, just get the punch in, all right? Put it out there. Maybe you'll get knocked on your ass. Maybe you'll knock the person out, right? Your punch is either going to connect or it's not. So think of it as a communication punch. Get it out there, put it through, express yourself, be confident, but don't be darting around and jumping around and dancing. Meet issues head on. Make your expectations known in a respectful and appropriate way. I think oftentimes that we get very caught up in our minds as humans. We get very caught up in our minds and we start thinking, ooh, but this person has had a really stressful day, so maybe I should massage their back before I ask them this question. And and we start hemming and hawing. No, We understand if you want to respect the other person's space, but if you truly know that they've had a rough day, don't massage their shoulders just so that they'll say yes to your request for sex or what have you. Maybe just give them the night to themselves. Let them have some time to themselves. Let them know that you're here if they want to talk. And then when they are a little bit more themselves, you can, be expressing your needs at that time. You're not going to throw yourself at somebody who's had a really crappy day and say, hey, I need to have sex right now. Or, you're also not going to say, well, honey, and hem and haw and beat around the bush and massage their shoulders and do the dishes and then ask if you can have sex. But by then it's midnight and they're tired and they've also had a crappy day and you're making it worse. You don't do that. Do you feel me? So be able to gauge where the other person, purple, I don't know where that came from, where the other person, in fact, is coming from. And don't let that rule your entire decision to say what you're going to say or not. And be able to gauge where you're coming from, how you're feeling. And if you're feeling angry or upset, perhaps it is better to give both of you a break and wait a little bit before you express that need or ask that question. It's good to be able to gauge where both of you are coming from, but you don't need to do it all the time. Like I said, if you notice that your partner's had a really tough day and they're just not feeling it, then yeah, wait until a little later on. But don't do the whole back massagey, dishwashy thing. Just give them some time. Wait till later on. Don't do things that are going to make you regret doing them later, that are going to make you feel bad and feel like you've done so much work to make them happy. And don't do things like that. Give both of you a break. Maybe take yourself out to a movie. Go for a run, something like that. And let your partner know that you'll be happy to talk if they want to talk later. And then once they've calmed down, maybe the next day, bring up your desire, your need, your expectation. But, don't do this constantly. Don't be so involved in, oh my gosh, I wonder how they're feeling right now. Should I say it? Should I not say it? Don't be so involved in that you fail to meet your own needs. Do you feel me? You've got to find a balance between knowing where the other person is coming from and trying to meet their needs that are expressed, of course, and having them know where you're coming from and telling them what your needs are, right? So you got to know where you're both coming from and kind of meet in the middle. And you've got to make sure that you're not engaging in manipulative behavior. If you give them a back rub, it better darn well be because you're a good person, you're kind, and you love them. And no repayment, no transactional stuff needed. And I would really prefer that my clients at least don't even look at it as, well, if they do have sex with me, it'll be a bonus. No, that should not be in your mind. If it is, don't do it. What should be in your mind is, wow, my partner's really had a stressful day. I'm going to try to be there for them as best I can. And if you're really stressed out yourself, again, don't bend over backwards and break your own back. Give yourself some time, give him or her some time, and calm down and regroup, right? So what did we learn just now about being proactive, respectful, and kind and genuine versus being ingratiating? Well, we learned that being ingratiating is a lot of extra energy spent. It's a lot of extra time spent. It's kind of a waste of energy and time. We've learned that it doesn't usually get you what you want, and that if it does, it leads to resentment building up. It leads to exhaustion emotionally, and it leads to cluster B personality disorder traits, and you moving down that path of potentially, becoming a disordered person, or advancing further on the path to becoming a disordered person, which are not good things. It leads to a poor internal narrative, a poor internal dialogue, and it definitely leads to you not respecting yourself is what it leads to. So how can others respect you if you can't respect yourself or them, right? And what is being good and kind and genuine and proactive lead to? Well, it leads to good boundaries. It leads to self-respect. It leads to good decision making. It leads to being able to make a decision on your feet, to have confidence, to have a good internal narrative, a good level of internal honesty, a good internal dialogue, and good social perception of those social cues that are coming at you from other people, as well as, balancing that with what your needs are and, what constraints you might or might not be operating within. So it helps you to find that balance between all me, and all them. In psychology, we call that the internal versus external locus of control. Does everybody else around me control my life, and everybody's a bitch and a cunt and a whore, and men are awful, but women are all petty and yada, yada, yada? Or is it all me, and I control the entire world? Well, no, it's neither. It is finding a good balance of internal versus external locus of control. It's finding a good balance of being forceful and authoritarian versus meek and passive aggressive. We call that being authoritative. So you're not authoritarian, you're not passive, you're not aggressive, you're not passive aggressive, you're authoritative, right? You have a balanced locus of control. You are authoritative. You are somebody who is mature, emotionally mature, socially mature. You respect yourself. You respect others, right? So let's say you want to go out with that woman. You tell her in an appropriate way at an appropriate time. And you don't leave your needs uncommunicated. Now, you don't go blasting her with your needs constantly and never attending to hers or asking her what hers are, right? And you don't give, but do it selfishly and never express your actual needs. So you find a balance. You are able to have a give and take with that person, okay? And you're able to sort of puzzle out, okay, this person's on their phone, they look busy, shouldn't approach. Oh, this person is sitting on a bar stool, casually talking with friends, and has been talking with other people at the bar. This seems okay. I might be able to approach this person, right? So it's puzzling that out by using your emotional maturity and your emotional intelligence and your social intelligence and your social maturity. So you've got to have these social and emotional components in order to be this authoritative, confident, truly confident, not faux confident person. You're not going to fool with negging and all of that sort of thing. You might engage in conversations with a little bit of push-pull, but that's just, playful banter. And, you're both, if you're both aware of it and you're both engaging in it, great. Keep it on a respectful, even keel. And when you need to be serious, be serious. When you need to actually state your needs, state your needs. When that other person is saying either yes, let's do this, or no, sorry, I'm not interested, respect that, right? And I think part of that is not trying to convince the person, well, you should sleep with me, well, you should go out with me. No, if they don't want to, they don't have to, they don't owe you anything. Move on to the next person. No doesn't mean no forever, but it absolutely means no right now. It means no for today. It probably means no for this week, this month, and this year. If you have some sort of a healthy rapport with that person and you feel that it would be appropriate to revisit this at a later time, go for it. But no means no, and you need to respect that, whether you're a man or a woman, whether your gender is fluid or whether you're bisexual, whether you're gay, whether you're heterosexual, whether, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No means no. Everybody has agency. No doesn't mean maybe or I'm playing with you. It means no. Okay, so respect that. And, it's okay for you to tell people no too, men. It really is. If you're not interested in someone who asks you out, it's okay to tell them no respectfully as well. So it goes both ways. If you expect for your desires to be respected, you need to respect other people's desires. If you expect for your needs to be respected, you need to respect other people's needs. And again, back to that first example that we used and that we talked about tonight, let's say that you are working at your job. Let's say there are two different employees at your work. You're just observing both of them, right? So two different employees both want the same raise or the same promotion. Okay, one employee is proactive, has expressed to the boss that they'd like this raise or promotion, and has told them why they feel that they should have it. The other just keeps taking on more and more work that's not theirs in the hopes that someone will notice. Which of those two people do you think is going to get the promotion or the raise? Well, the second person, because they're did I say that? Anyway, the person who's being proactive, it's late, okay? And the person who's being proactive is the person who's going to get it, not the second person who's being shitty and, dishonest and manipulative and, I'll just take your work and your work and your work so I can show the boss what a great person I am and what initiative I have. No, that's not how it works. If that job wasn't assigned to you, don't do it. It's a waste of your energy and your time. It's probably a waste of the company's energy and time too. Don't do it. Do the best you can at your job and, let the boss know if you want that promotion or that raise or what have you. Let them know. So be person number one who is proactive, who lets the boss know. Don't be person number two who takes on everybody else's work and everybody else's, onus to get everything done and who, stays 10 hours late and sleeps in the office and then gets so angry when they don't get the promotion. Well, yeah, you didn't ask for it. You didn't let them know that you were somebody who could handle this. You didn't tell them, hey, I'm hungry for this. I want this. I can do this. And here's why, right? So don't expect what you haven't asked for. So that right there, again, is as if you needed more descriptors and more examples of this. That right there is the difference between that proactive, confident person who lets folks know what they need at the appropriate time in the appropriate way, and that person who just kind of can't get it together but wants to show everybody how great they are and how they have a heart of gold. Well, I'm sorry, folks. If you are being manipulative, you don't have a heart of gold. I'm really sorry, and that makes me feel sad to have to say that. Maybe I'm breaking this news to somebody who doesn't want to hear it, and I'm really sorry. But people who have a heart of gold don't act that way. Plain and simple. If you have a heart of gold, you are going to be proactive. You're going to do the best job you can. You're going to communicate your needs, even when it's uncomfortable. You're going to step up and handle situations without the thought of constant reward. And you're going to realize that relationships, whether they be work, romantic, friendship, family, what have you, are not transactional. They're not. They're not transactional at all. They are not transactional at all. They are very intricate things. Relationships are based on respect, common decency, common interests, a shared respect for both yourselves and one another. How do you build that? Why? By being honest and communicating your needs and listening to the other person when they do the same and having a give and take, right? So this is the difference between being genuine, being good, being respectful, being proactive, and being somebody who's pushy, manipulative, pushy emotionally, and manipulative, underhanded, ingratiating. And I know that if you are seeing that ingratiating sort of behavior in yourself, hey, I know that you're capable of change. If you weren't, I wouldn't be saying this. I wouldn't be taking the time. If I didn't think you were capable of change, I wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't have the job that I have, and I wouldn't be successful at it. And I am. So I think that right there tells you that I'm not out here, spitting in the wind. I'm not out here shouting into the void. I'm not whistling in the cemetery. I am not whistling in the graveyard. That's the expression. But anyway, it's 1 a.m. What do you expect? So I'm not out here spitting in the wind. I know that you can make a change. I know that you're capable of this. We all fall into that category once in a while in life of being that ingratiating person. It's a matter of whether you pull yourself out. That tells me that you are a good person and that you are capable of change, right? So if you pull yourself out and you're self-aware, that's what really matters. I'm not here to judge you. You do that enough yourself, but be aware. And rather than judging yourself harshly and assuming that everyone else is judging you, don't. Just make the change that you feel you could make. Make that change for yourself and not for someone else. Okay? You can do this. I've got your back. All of us listeners here have got your back. I've got your back. People who love you have your back. Talk to somebody about this. Get the help that you need. See a coach. See a therapist. You don't exist in a void. People are here to help you. We've got you. You're capable of this, okay? So be real. You're capable. You can do this, and we've got you, all right? Folks, you are not alone. Thank you so much for tuning into this slightly longer than usual show. Be well, take care of yourselves, and have a wonderful night.